First, we'll try to define the variables. Let's say the two numbers are x and y. The primary equation is about the quantity that we are trying to minimize. It should involve that. So let's say the sum is equal to x plus y, because x and y are the two numbers. Now we will talk about the constraint. The constraint must involve this given number 144. Well, we want the product of the two numbers to be 144. And that simply means x times y is 144. So we're going to start with our constraint. We know x times y is 144. We're going to express y in terms of x and write y is equal to 144 over x. Now we go back to our primary equation, s is equal to x plus y, and replace y with 144 over x, like so. And since I know I have to find the derivative, I'm going to express 144 over x in this form. 144 times x to the power negative 1. Now, this function, s, is now a function of x, and I can find the derivative of s with regard to x by using the power rule here, and then the same power rule here, and that gives me 1 minus 144 times x to the power negative 2. So when I find the derivative of s with regard to x, I get this. Now, if you go back and read the question, we are trying to find the value of x that will minimize the sum. So let's move on and do a little more calculus. Now, we're going to set up s prime is equal to 0. Why? Because at minimum and maximum, the derivative is 0. So we set s prime equal to 0. Basically, that means if this is 0, this is 0. So I set up 1 minus 144 times x to the power negative 2 to be 0, and solve for x. And that would mean 144 over x squared is equal to 1. X squared has to be 144. That's cross multiplication. X is equal to square root of 144. And since we are talking about positive integers, x turns out to be 12. And I graphed this function, s is equal to x plus 144 over x. And it seems like, by looking at the graph, that this is a minimum. When x is 12, the function reaches the minimum value. So x is 12 has to be a minimum. You can do it using calculus, but I'm just going to here do it graphically. Finally, we need to find the value of y, and since y is equal to 144 over x, we replace x with 12 and we get 12 for the value of y. So the two numbers are 12 and 12. When you multiply 12 by 12, the product is 144, and by looking at the graph and with the help of calculus, we can also decide that when the integers are 12 and 12, the sum is minimum.